Welcome to God Eternal Rhonas. As far as our opening hand goes, we've got Forest, Green Sun Zenith, Arbor Elf, Dungrove Elf. Man, if we run into Guardian Project, yeah, let's go ahead and mulligan. We're playing against Joyra, and just in case I've got some spot removal on Arbor Elf, I'm not super wild about that. So, ooh. Now, do we want to keep this? If we get lucky, get the Scry on top, there's a land, and then we get super lucky with Cultivate, then Cage Sun, Gauntlet of Power. Yeah, I don't want to go past 6, so let's keep on this one. Hopefully there's a land on top. Let's definitely put that on the bottom. And this is definitely going to be one of the riskier keeps you're going to see around here. But hey, hopefully if you're keeping a score at home, you can pray to the magic gods and we get ourselves another land. So we're going to lead off with Forest, and then anything else, we're going to go and pass the turn over to our opponent. Come back here, Rhonas. There we are. We are playing God Eternal Rhonas. Stat touch. Whenever God Eternal Rhonas enters the battlefield, double the power of each creature you control until end of turn. Those creatures gain vigilance until end of turn. Oh. Don't hit the land. Fingers crossed we run into that land really soon. But yeah, those creatures gain vigilance until end of turn. Then whenever God Eternal Rhonas dies or is put into exile from the battlefield, you may put it into its owner's library third from the top. Playing against Joyra, or if you're a fan of the channel, Johora. That's how I pronounced it the first time I played her, so... 3 visits. Well, if we run into land, we'll run into 3 visits, and then we can just really bust this thing open, so... Keep our fingers crossed again. Playing against Joyra, whenever you cast a historic spell, draw a card, and a historic spell is going to be an artifact, legendary, or a saga. So we'll definitely see what our opponent's up to. We are playing against Slow Player 1, so if you haven't seen these my videos before, or if you haven't heard me mention Slow Player 1, Slow Player 1 has some pretty fun decks. I always enjoy playing against Slow Player 1. I always like to think of Magic Online as the kind of local gaming store for Commander Online, and so I always enjoy our matchup. There we go. So run into a land. I'll take it. Not the best land, but we'll go Mosswort Bridge, and then hopefully we can just bust this thing open really quick. So I'm going to go for... well, that's probably what we would have picked anyway, in race 4 runners, so we'll take that. We'll put those on the bottom in any order. I kind of double-clicked on that zone, so it ended up working out that we did a snap click like that. And then anything else, we're going to go pass the turn over to our opponent. So we did cover both commanders. It is officially free time. We can have some fun. But yeah, with Slow Player 1, he or she tends to have some really fun decks and always enjoy our matchups. But let's talk about Rhonas. So as far as what we've got going on with Rhonas, this is your standard mono green, just get a bunch of creatures on the battlefield, get Rhonas down, and then if we can get the, if you're a lore person trying to figure out if you can hide in race 4 Rhonas underneath the bridge, I don't know. But anyway, little things like that. Let's say we get God Eternal Rhonas on the battlefield. We just get some sort of incremental value, that power, then go for that Mosswort Bridge. And that really makes a deck like this shine, is being able to get that double amplifying effect with God Eternal Rhonas. And then just adding a Stampede effect is just more than enough to just really put a hurt on our opponent. So, all right, so we're kind of starting to run into some land. So let's go Forest. If we end up going Cultivate, that's going to be a land on the battlefield. 3 visits, going to be a land, but there's nothing else for 2. I think if we end up just going Cultivate, that's going to put a land on the battlefield, land into our hand, and then next turn we can make for sure that we're going to make a land drop. And so let's put this force onto the battlefield. The other force goes back to our hand. And anything else, kick it back over to our opponent. But yeah, long story short, this is kind of the one-hit KO with this deck is getting some really nice Stampede effect, Trample, and then doubling our power and toughness with God Eternal Rhonas. Now, one of the ways that we're just going to try to look to generate value over the course of the game is basically just kind of getting some really good mid-range creatures out. We do have Tendershoot Dryad. That's one of those creatures that it always feels good to have that creature. So we get Tendershoot Dryad down. We're going to get a sapling token during our upkeep and our opponent's upkeep. And really, we just wanted to flood the board with as many creatures as possible. So that's one thing that I really enjoy. One of the other ways that you can really kind of have fun with God Eternal Rhonas is by having some sort of return a creature back to your hand effect. And we've got, I think, Thundering Ceratok. Well, maybe that one's it. I know there's 2 of them in here. There's one 4-drop, and I'm looking at my list right now trying to see Roaring Primadox. So that's one that we... I'm just going to go for Tezzeret. So, they've got a really nice little board state developed so far. Mox Amber, Mox Opal, Tezzeret. The Mox Opal, the Mox Opal's not online yet, so they basically just have Mox Amber. But one of the good things about Joyra is that, simply just casting a Mox Amber is going to get you a hit on mana and get you a card draw. That's some pretty good value right there. But yeah, like I mentioned, Roaring Primadox, that's one of those creatures that we can cast God Eternal Rhonas, because, if you can get a one-hit KO with God Eternal Rhonas, that feels really good. But there's just other times where you just have some really nice board states, and you're not going to be able to close the game out, but you can just really kind of put a huge amount of pressure on your opponent's life total by simply just doubling their power and toughness. So now we do. There's one creature in here that I would love to see, and I hate seeing in our opponent's side of the battlefield. And we do have the Bane of Progress, I think. I'm trying to look at... and actually, excuse me, the Bane of Progress, I was thinking of a Nikia deck that I built, but that Bane of Progress would definitely be good in here, because that would get rid of the artifacts, but I don't think, unfortunately, I have Bane of Progress in. Yeah, that's right, because we're running so many artifacts in here, Gauntlet of Power, Guild of Lotus, Thrain Dynamo, I ended up not running it in here, so I got my deck list mixed up on this particular one, so hopefully we can... deal with a lot of these artifacts. It's going to be a pretty good board state by our opponent. All right, so swinging in for 4. It's going to knock us down to 24, and they will get that proliferate on Tezzeret the Seeker. All right, so we run into Zuri's Predation, and that's actually pretty good. So we go Force for the turn. We go 3 visits. That's going to put another Force on the battlefield. That's going to be 4 mana. I think at this point, if we end up just going Gauntlet of Power, that's going to give us a ton of extra mana for next turn. We can really kind of start to get some good stuff going. So let's do that. So let's go Gauntlet of Power. And while our opponent's tapped out, we at least want to get one of these to stick around. So we're going to go Gauntlet of Power for green and then pass the turn to our opponent. So with Gauntlet of Power, this is another good thing in mono green that can just really, you already want to ramp. You want to get stuff like Cultivate and 3 visits. By getting down something like Gauntlet of Power, that's going to add some double mana to our mana pool. So we're looking at like 10 mana for next turn. We could go for Council. We don't have that good of a graveyard established at this point, but at least it is an option for us with Gauntlet of Power. Then if we get Cage Sundown, that's going to make it to where we can end up with a really nice hideaway with Mosswort Bridge pretty quick. Now, one of my favorite green spells is Zuri's Predation. With this spell, for each creature your opponents control, create a 4/4 beast token, and then each of those beast tokens fight one of our opponent's creatures. So they don't have a ton of creatures on the battlefield at this point right now, but if we end up going for Zuri's Predation, we're at least going to end up with 2 4/4s on the battlefield. They're going to be a 5/5 with those Gauntlet of Powers. That's going to turn us on for Mosswort Bridge, simply just for having 2 creatures on the battlefield, and that'll make God Eternal Rhonas really happy. Now, a little bit of a behind the scenes. Whenever I get a commander ready, I always like to do the art, and I just love the God Eternal Rhonas art in this particular in this card. But they don't have it posted yet. I felt that was a little bit of a bummer. I looked all over for the art and I could not find it, and it's always hate that. So if you ever see some of the newer art on one of my thumbnails or the art that doesn't match the actual commander itself, that's why I just couldn't find the full resolution art on that. It's a little bit of a downside. But yeah, as far as the deck goes, we did talk about, obviously it's mono green. We want to ramp stuff like Gauntlet of Power, Cage Sun, Cultivate. We return creatures back to our hand, and it's just flooding the board with creatures. We do have Primordial Hydra, which is one of my favorite cards. When I first got into Commander, or first got into Magic, Primordial Hydra is one of the rares in the set. And there's a lot of times you can just tap out for a really nice Primordial Hydra. End up with and this is Zuri's Predation. It's going to be really nice. It's going to take care of that spirit token and get rid of that dragon. And thankfully, our opponent ended up going for the -3 to create a dragon on the battlefield. So if we can sequence it to where we can go for Zuri's Predation and still, end up going for something like 3 visits, I think we might end up going for that. But let's see what else they get down for the turn. Okay, so we've got Joyrus swinging across. We have the Thrumming Bird swinging across for 1. That does give them the extra proliferate. The only thing that we're really kind of watching out for with the Tezzeret, it's going for that ultimate. They can ultimate next turn, giving them all 5/5s. And that's the only downside about Zuri's Predation. It is a sorcery speed. So they're at least going to be able to turn all these artifacts into 5/5s. But if we can end up with a few extra beast tokens on the battlefield, that might be able to get us something. So we'll see. So we draw into Shaman of Forgotten Ways. So at this point, we have 9 total mana. So we go 1, 2, that's going to be 3 visits, that's going to be another force on the battlefield. And that'll leave us in the exact same mana, basically. Yeah, so let's go 3 visits. It's going to get that extra force on the battlefield. And we'll see if our opponent wants to end up using that Tezzeret ultimate. If I was them, I probably would, because that would be pretty cool. So let's go for Zuri's Predation. So we're going to be able to fight all of these creatures, end up with a bunch of 5/5s, and they stick around, which is just really nice. And we'll see what that last face-down card was. Oh, I guess we don't get to see that. So, Hideaway, anything else, we're going to go and pass the turn over to our opponent. So, now you can see what I was talking about. Let's say our opponent finally kind of flooded the board with a few more creatures. We've got a bunch of 5/5s. I still think if they end up going for Tezzeret, that's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Actually, it's not going to be lethal because we can trade with a lot of these creatures. So, we might be able to put ourselves in a position to where we can slam down God Eternal Rhonas, go for that Mosswort Bridge, and just really end up with a nice board state. And that's one of the cool things about this in race forerunners. You know, a lot of people kind of don't hate on Crater Hoof. You know, Crater Hoof is definitely a closer for mono green, but being able to have that redundancy, you know, once you get to the point where you're casting 8 mana, you should have something that's going to be very, very threatening for the board state. And, all right, so it's going to go for Ugin. They're going to take care of one of our beast tokens. But one of the cool things about God Eternal Rhonas is, let's say that we go for in-race forerunners. They get +2/+2, gain trample. Once we get down God Eternal Rhonas, that's also going to double that power and toughness up. So even though we only have like 3 creatures on the battlefield, whenever you double that power and toughness, it makes it really hard for your opponent to do anything about that. Now, the only thing I'm kind of worried about is we're going to be able to dodge Videlic and Shackles from our opponent. They do have 7 cards in their hand, and they have just a ton of mana. That's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So we're looking at about 12 mana if I didn't count wrong. So that does kind of leave us open to some sort of counter magic from our opponent that does put us in the range of Cyclonic Rift. But if we can get it till next turn and not worry about any sort of counter magic, we'll at least be going for God Eternal Rhonas. And if you've never built mono green in Commander, this is definitely one of those colors that you should build at least once. You know, whatever sort of mono green deck, mono green Commander you kind of want to end up picking. God Eternal Rhonas, it is a lot of fun. If you're new to mono green, or at least new to Commander, I would maybe kind of select another Commander. With God Eternal Rhonas, it is a lot of fun. There's just a lot of games where you've got to set things up perfectly. Not perfectly, but you've just got to do a lot of setting up. And, you know, something like Omnath, Locus of Mana, that's going to be a little bit more forgiving for your first mono green deck. But yeah, you know, get in there, have some fun. It's one of those decks that it's just really fun to pilot. Like, the first deck that I ever built was Omnath, Locus of Mana. And, you know, that's kind of what got me into Commander. And the first time I built Joyrus Storm, I was like, wow, this is a lot of fun, because you can see you can kind of start to cycle through things. So let's say that you're blue-red Spellslinger, you know, give mono green a shot. There's no better feeling than getting some sort of overwhelming stampede effect going against your opponent. That just feels really good. So now the good thing about our opponent getting down Joyride, it is a little bit of a bummer. They're going to be able to start kind of basically replacing the card draw. As they keep casting stuff, that's going to reduce their mana that they have available. So right now we're looking at about 5 mana. So as long as they kind of tap out, I feel a little bit better. And the other good thing is that you know, if they do end up going for the Tezzeret Ultimate, a few of these things that they've tapped down, those are the ones that do not have Summoning Sickness. So let's say they go for the Tezzeret Ultimate with -5. It was Ruby Medallion and Spellbook. Those would have Summoning Sickness, so they would not be able to swing in unless Tezzeret grants. No, they do not grant them haste. So that's at least going to be to our benefit. So we are looking at 6 mana. I mean, 3 mana right now open. So I feel pretty confident about next turn being able to hopefully swing with God Eternal Rhonas and then drop in this Mosswort Bridge. And I don't know, whenever you hide something like In-Race Forerunners and Crater Hoof under the bridge, it always... I just always visualize them like trying to hide under there like a little kid would try to hide, but they're like, their legs are sticking out and they're like, you can't see me. So anyway, let's I don't know, have some fun. Next time you're playing Magic and you get down Mosswort Bridge, just imagine whatever creature you're hiding under there, a bunch of gnarly looking boars hanging out. So opponent's going to get down Sarkhan. They can go for the +1, which is, it might be a little troublesome. That'll be +1, puts us down to 16. Tezzeret Ultimate. Yeah, I still think we can survive until next turn. So let's see what else they get down for the turn, though. Okay, so opponent's going to go for the Tezzeret activation for the 5/5, and our opponent just hopped in the chat and said that they think we're going to get it next turn once we swing in and get that double amplifying effect. So, yeah, because even if they swing in, that's going to be Videlic and Shackle swinging in. That's going to be, we can just basically let this come across. That's going to be 4 in the air. That's going to be 9. And then we're looking at 14. So we're going to be able to survive on this one. One of the other things that they, well, actually, they ended up going for the +1 until end of turn. Each planeswalker you control becomes a 4/4 red dragon. Now, if you haven't, like, I did a stream with the pre-release for War of the Spark, and one of the cool things about Sarkhan the Masterless is that it's a pretty good effect. If you have a really strong planeswalker deck with Sarkhan, you go for that +1. There's just a lot of times where you're like, uh-oh, I can't stop a lot of this. So now the only downside is a lot of these planeswalkers have flying. So we're looking at 5 on the ground. That's going to be 4, 8 in the air, which we're going to have to take. And let's see, this might be... Okay, so we're looking at Sarkhan. Sarkhan is with flying. So we're looking at 4 in the air, 8, 12. And then that's going to be 16. And then on the ground, that's going to leave us 10. That's going to be 26. So we're going to have to block on a couple of these creatures. So I think if I'm doing the math right, that's going to be 4, 8, 12, 16. We'll let one of the 5 go across. That puts down. Actually, we're going to need to block on both of these artifacts. Yeah, so we're going to have to block Beast on Mox Opal, which is that's why this was what makes Commander fun. Yeah, because if we let that 5 go through, that's going to be exactly just, that's going to be 21. So we're going to have to block on that to Vanelkin Shackles. Click OK. Now, here's the downside. That does cut us off Mosswort Bridge. And I'll see what we can get going for next turn. But that was definitely I kind of forgot about the Sarkhan line of play. You know, simply if they just go for the Tezzeret, you know, we might have been able to kind of survive that. But when you have a bunch of 4/4 flyers in a Planeswalker deck, that is pretty hard to stop. So we've got Overwhelming Stampede. We can go for that. That's going to be half of our mana. We have 10 mana. We've got Eternal Rhonas. We have Mosswort Bridge coming down. So we almost need to rip a forest off the top of our library. So let's see what we draw into. Come on. Okay, Fierce Empath. So we've got 10 total mana. That's going to be God Eternal Rhonas, doubling the power. Okay, so I'm trying to figure, I think we might. So that's going to be 6 total mana. We go for God Eternal Rhonas. And that's going to double the amount of the power on the battlefield. That's going to turn on Mosswort Bridge. But I don't know if we can rack up enough damage. We do have 10 total. So actually, yeah, let's go for this. So we go Mosswort Bridge. We're going to be able to cast, yes, definitely want to cast Enraged Forerunners. Everyone's going to get +2/+2. So that's going to make it 10, that's going to make it 7, and then we're going to be able to... That might be enough. Let's see. Either way, we're going to get really close. That's going to be exactly 30, but they're going to be able to block, which is a little bit of a bummer. Yeah, I think they're going to get it. Either way, we're still going to go and swing across it. That was some pretty good magic on that. They've got us in the air, and... you know, just being able to rack up 30 points of damage, of trample damage. Well, I guess technically, if we really want to stop this, it's not over. Okay, so if we swing, we've got to take care of Sarkhan and Sarkhan. We get rid of both of those. That's going to give us an 8/8 on the battlefield. We don't have to worry about Tezzeret. Yeah, I guess that kind of buys us another turn. So we're going to swing in at Sarkhan the Masterless, swing in at... Because either way, we would have had to get another hasty creature down this turn. So we've got Beast Token swinging in at Sarkhan, and then Beast Token swinging at the Dragon Master. Because if we swing in, they're going to block Joyra and Joyra's Familiar and just chew up that damage, because that won't be enough. So we've got to take care of both those. Once we take care of both of those creatures, that's going to give us 2 creatures of vigilance. So at least on the back end, we don't have to worry about them, you know, being able to hit us, or at least kind of having a few blockers. So once we get rid of those Planeswalkers, that's at least going to buy us one more turn once we get rid of those. And that's the only downside, is we miss out on a lot of that really nice trample damage. But we've got Overwhelming Stampede, so we can make some stuff work. So we've got 4 mana. I guess if we just really want to kind of go ham, we go Fierce Empath. And that way we can just grab something out of our library. That's going to give us an extra creature on the battlefield with Fierce Empath. Yes, definitely want to use that ability. Let's get this popped out. And if we just want to... I think if we're just going to do anything, we might as well just grab Crater Hoof. So we're going to grab Crater Hoof, and then anything else, we're going to go and pass the turn over to our opponent. So they can't go for the Tezzeret Ultimate. They can swing in the air with Joyra's Familiar for 2. And then with Ugin, they can exile the top part of the library. So depending on what they have in their hand... If they've got Cyclonic Rift, they can send everything back. They'll definitely be able to close it out. And maybe I might have missed that turn up. Maybe we could have sequenced a little bit better. I think, here's what would have happened. If we would have... my opponent just said, uh-oh, LOL in the chat to that Crater Hoof. I think what would have happened, if we had ripped a forest off the top of our library, that would have put it down. That would have given us enough mana to go for God Eternal Rhonas. That would have allowed us to go for Overwhelming Stampede. And that also would have allowed us to go for a Mosswort Bridge. So we could have gotten down God Eternal Rhonas. That would have doubled the power and toughness. That would have made the Beast Token a 10/10. once it enters, and also, we'd have been able to cast it with whenever God Eternal Rhonas enters the battlefield. And that overwhelming stampede, I think that would have closed it out. Maybe I missed something. Unfortunately, one of the harder things to do is when you're giving commentary is when it comes to combat, and especially just some sort of stampede combat. If there's a lot of blockers, if there's a few creatures, sometimes it's hard to make sure that you've got everything perfectly to close it out. So that's one of the downsides of recording and giving commentary at the same time. So if I do miss something, I do apologize. But you got to see where you can just simply just have two creatures on the battlefield and get lucky with the Mosswort Bridge, and then end up ending with a really nice in-race forerunners. But yeah, this is pretty much what Mono Green's all about. Just get down a bunch of creatures, and once again, you can see how good Azuri's Predation is, especially when you have some sort of static effect on the battlefield like Gauntlet of Power. Being able to fight that 4/4 creature, that 4/4 dragon from Sarkhan, and still have our beast token to stick around. And plus, look how cool those beast tokens are. Those are pretty wild. All right, so our opponent's going to be casting a few extra spells. They're going to be generating some mana. At this point right now, I think I'm just going to let them kind of go through their turn and see what sort of board state they develop, and hopefully we can just slay them down Crater Reef for next turn and really close it out. So let's see what they get going. Oh no, so our opponent's going to go for Thran Gateway, and they're going to drop into Fairy. Okay, so then go for the -1, untap some permanents. So that's definitely going to allow them to generate some mana. So once again, once I get to about the 20-minute mark in a video, I always, instead of me rambling, I just kind of let our opponent do their thing. So once again, I'm going to let them kind of see what they develop, and then we'll talk about it. Okay, then we'll see Chandra hit the battlefield. This is just kind of OG Chandra, so I think we're okay on this one. +1, 1 damage to any target, and we're definitely kind of way past that. The only thing that we would maybe be worried about this is that -2. Whenever you cast your next instant or sorcery spell, you get to copy that one. But with them being a little bit down on mana, I'm pretty sure they've already gone for the Teferi activation. Yeah, they've already activated Teferi to kind of untap some things. I think we might be able to close it out, so we'll keep our fingers crossed. Ooh, and our opponent actually gets down Dak Faden. So if they end up going for the -2 with Dak Faden, they gain control of Gauntlet of Power. That's definitely going to cut us off mana. And that would stop us from going for Crater Roof. But thankfully, we still have Overwhelming Stampede in our hand. That should be enough to close it out with this Overwhelming Stampede. I can't really see them getting enough creatures on the battlefield to stop that. But if we didn't have Overwhelming Stampede, we'd definitely be in a little bit of a rough spot with them being at 30 life. So let's see what they decide to go for with Dak Faden. Okay, so they do end up stealing our Gauntlet of Power, and I think that's them completely tapped out on mana. Now they might be able to go for the -3 on Ugin. I don't think they've done the Ugin yet, so let's see if they end up going for that. Okay, and our opponent ends up going for the Ugin activation on in-raise forerunners. I think what our opponent was trying to go for was gaining control of Gauntlet of Power, but you have to choose a color to deal enough damage, and I think they were going to try to give Joyous Familiar make it a 3/3, but since it's colorless, that's not going to work. So, yeah, so close. But yeah, unfortunately, with them still taking that Gauntlet of Power, we have Overwhelming Stampede to still kind of close it out, because it's going to give everybody +6/+6. That's going to make it a 12. That's going to make it... Ooh, and they're going to go for Combustible Gear Hulk. Yeah, we're going to have to let them draw 3 cards, because if we don't, then we're going to take a pretty good chunk of damage off of that. Now, this does really kind of complicate us going for the Overwhelming Stampede, because if it's 6/6 out there, and then they go next turn, swinging 2 with Joyra. Oh, man, this is... we almost need to rip Ancient Tomb off the top. This is going to be 5, 6, and 7, 8. So if you're keeping score at home, get those fingers crossed for Ancient Tomb. Outside of that, I don't know if we can push past all these Gear Hulks. Man, this has been a this has been a pretty gnarly game so far. We were on the ropes though, very early on. But we'll see what else they have in store for us. So one thing that our opponent might be contemplating is, yeah, they're going to swing a Joyra. That's going to be a 2/2. It's going to knock us down to 1. They're going to get the treasure token, and they're saying that... I don't think they saw Overwhelming Stampede. But anyway, once they pass the turn, we'll kind of figure out exactly how if we can try to close it out. We'll see, but we'll wait for them to pass the turn first. Okay, so let's see what we draw into. Draw into Forest. So we're going to be able to get down Forest, and that's going to be 6, 7. We're actually 1 away from Crater Hoof. Oh, excuse me, never mind. So our opponent did gain control of Gauntlet of Power, and so that's still going to give us the extra mana. Okay, there we go. Excuse me. Okay, that makes a little bit more sense now. Okay, that's why our opponent was saying we win, and I didn't see it, but I didn't realize since they gained control of it, we still get that mana. So what we're going to do on this is we're going to add that last green mana to our mana pool. That's 13 mana. That's going to allow us to go for Overwhelming Stampede. Actually, no, we go Crater Hoof first. So we go yeah, that's where I was kind of getting hung up that we didn't. Our opponent said, "Oh, you've got this one." Then I was like, "Oh, we don't." But then with Gauntlet of Power, even though they own it, we still get that that effect or whatever. So we're gonna go plus X plus X. Let's go for the Overwhelming Stampede just to really make sure that we seal the deal, because that's gonna be 10, 20, 24. And then with the last little bit of mana, we go for Overwhelming Stampede. That way, there's just no funny business. And oh man, so close. Okay, so we're going to right-click, attack all, attack our opponent. You can definitely see why this is why I really enjoy playing at Slow Player 1, is we always tend to have just a lot of really fun games, and Slow Player 1 is a very good deck builder for Commander. So, definitely good game to our opponent. Man, they got us down all the way down to 1, and we were against the ropes. We got super lucky with that Enraged Forerunners off Mossfort Bridge. But yeah, if I didn't see that Gauntlet of Power play earlier, I just missed it. I just figured since they gained control of it with Dak Faden, then that would get rid of that mana. But since it's on the battlefield, whenever a basic is tapped for mana, this controller adds some extra mana to their mana pool. So Cage Sun is the one that says, yeah, Cage Sun is the one that would make it to where whoever owns it gets that benefit. So thankfully, with Gauntlet of Power, that still allowed us to get some really nice trample damage on the battlefield. They got Combustible Gear Hulk. We probably could have just closed it out with Crater Hoof, but we had that extra trample damage with Stampede, and we had the extra mana sitting there. So they just kind of wanted to show that off. So good game to our opponent, Slow Player 1. Always enjoy the games, and if you enjoyed the video, like and subscribe. Thanks. Bye. Welcome to God Eternal Rhonas. As far as opening hand goes, yes, I love it. We're going to keep on this one in a heartbeat. This is very much what you want to see in an opening hand with this deck. We've got a little bit of ramp with Tri-Builder. We've got Hornet Queen, which is going to allow us to dump some good creatures on the battlefield. Got a little bit of a trample effect with Rhonas, and then, of course, it's always nice being able to make clue tokens with Tireless Tracker. She is a very, very good card for Commander. I like her very much. She's a very good utility card. Let's go ahead and get down Forest, and then anything else, we're going to go and pass the turn over to opponents. So we're playing God Eternal Rhonas. Death Touch. Whenever God Eternal Rhonas enters the battlefield, double the power of each other creature you control until end of turn. And then they gain Vigilance until end of turn 2. And then whenever God Eternal dies, you may put it into your library third from the top. So it's kind of like, hey, coming back for you. It's like the Jason movies. God Eternal Rhonas will be coming back. Always comes back. Let's go Forest. Let's go Secure Tri-Builder. And just so I don't goof something up, we're just going to go and crack Tri-Builder. There's a lot of times where I'll put Auto Yield on and they go for spot removal, and we never get that land, and I feel silly. So we're going to get that land on the battlefield and pass the turn. Playing against Janara, Asura of War. Flying, then for a 2-mana activation, put a +1 counter on Janara, Asura of War. So I've played against this deck, not this particular deck before, but I've played against this commander before, and it's pretty stout commander. There's a lot of times where you get down Janara and swing in and get some really good damage going. Now, we do have Azuri's Predation, so hopefully we can use that to kind of fight past that, but once they get a few extra counters on there, that's going to be a little rough. So, anyways, let's get our board state developed. So we've got Tireless Tracker. Yeah, I think at this point, we just want to go Tireless Tracker. Yeah, I like that. Let's go Tireless Tracker. We're going to get Forest down. That's going to allow us to get a clue token, and that way we can start catch. Why is the stack doing that? I always like the stack to be right there, so eventually, if it keeps popping back up there, then I'll just leave it. And then anything else, we're going to pass the turn over to our opponent. So we did cover both commanders. Let's go and jump into the deck tech. Now, if you've seen my videos before, I used to do a deck tech, and one of the things with the deck tech is I enjoy doing it, but a lot of the times it just takes up a lot of time, and I kind of like playing the deck and talking about it while recording. It feels a little bit more personal. There's just a lot of cool things, certain interactions. I can explain it a certain way. So if you watch my videos here on this MTGO Traders channel and wonder where the deck techs have gone, that's it. I just kind of want to go for a little bit more of our personal, like, hey, here's the deck that I've built. Let's talk about it. Let's see what kind of fun stuff we can build with this. But yeah, as far as this deck goes, this is just straight up just mono green. Our main win condition is God Eternal Rhonas and some sort of Stampede effect. Oh, Gauntlet of Power. I like it. Our opponent is tapped out on blue mana, so we're going to get this Gauntlet of Power to stick. And I do like that. So we're gonna go Tectonic Edge. That's his. When you see Gauntlet of Power in a mono green deck, that is some that's some good magic. That's gonna be a lot of clue tokens we can crack too. So we're definitely gonna choose green on this, and then that's gonna make us a 4/3, and we can still go and push in with God Tireless Tracker. I like that. We got flying, and we don't really want to hold back Tireless Tracker for a for an Elvish Mystic that wants to swing into the red zone. So let's go and swing it for 4, knock him down to 23, and then we're going to pass the turn. Now, if this does end up sticking, if we can get Gauntlet of Power to stick around, that's really going to open us up on mana. That does allow us to go for Azuri's Predation. Now, our opponent has gotten in the spot to where they can kind of stop those extra +1 counters. If they tap out for some reason, that's going to make this Predation really nice. And so if they don't have those extra counters on there, we'll definitely go for that. Oh, bummer. They've got Nature's Claim. Okay. Kind of figured some sort of artifact or enchantment removal would be coming down. So, but we got some good creatures coming in. So can't wait to show them off to our opponent. Let's go Forest. And I think, yeah, we'll get that clue token on the battlefield. And they don't have 4 more lands. That's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I think at this point, we can't go God Eternal Rhonas. If we want, that's touch indestructible. That's going to be 3 clue tokens that we can crack. So what we can do is if we end up going God Eternal Rhonas, it's going to be 1, 2, 3, and we get to crack 1 clue token. I really want to get to that 7, 8 mana with the Azuri's Predation. That's where we really want to go. So I think at this point, what we're going to do is, did we make the land drop for the turn? Yeah, we did. We did make 4. So what we're going to do is we're simply just going to go and pass the turn. And I'm going to leave up some of these clue tokens. That way, if they do want to swing in with Elvish Mystic, we can at least kind of declare Tireless Tracker a blocker and start cracking a few more tokens. But yeah, the thought of paying 6 mana to draw 3 cards, that sounds pretty good versus just getting down Rhonas. And then after that, we'll try to work towards getting down some more board state. Because one of the things you do want to build, if you're building mono green, that's one of the best things to build in Commander. It's in fact is one of the first decks that I ever built was mono green Omnath, and playing mono green in Commander is just a really fun thing to play. One of the things that you do want to do is you just want to build up a board state. You get down stuff like Hornet Queen, you go for Azuri's Predation, and that way, once you finally do found that Stampede effect, or simply just getting down God Eternal Rhonas, it just makes it to where your opponent's going to have to make some blocks that they're not happy about. In fact, with our opponent, we really need to kind of start kind of putting some pressure on them. The longer we sit back and let them do things, that's going to be a little bit easier for them to slowly attack our life total. So let's go for this Tireless Tracker activation. I'm going to cash in a card draw. Lana War Else. Let's go for 1 more activation. And I don't know what the paper price of Tireless Tracker is, but it's definitely worth it. Great card, especially mono green. It's just the fact that whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, that is just such a good effect. And, that was really nice. I like that. Lana War Elves, Double Forest, that was pretty good. So we've got Return to Nature. Yeah, I think at this point, we'll just kind of hold on to that. So we go Forest. That's going to be an extra clue token. Yeah, if we're going to build some stuff up, I kind of like going for Hornet Queen, because Hornet Queen also does another thing. It also makes it to where they can't swing in and start attacking. Now, if they've got a counter spell, they've got it. But if we can get Hornet Queen to stick around on the battlefield, that'll really kind of slow down their assault in the air. All right, so they're going to go for, Mana Leak. Oh, all right. So there's no better feeling than sticking a Mana Leak against a mono green deck. So I guess at this point, if we're just kind of racing, we'll just go and swing in with Tireless Tracker as a 6/5. And then if we get in for 6, that'll be good. Kind of work towards your life total. And then swing in. Now, if they do end up tapping out and go down on Linda, then that'll really allow us to go for this Azuri's Predation. So keep our fingers crossed for that. But I've played against our opponent before, and they tend to be a very, very skilled opponent in a lot of their deck building. So they have some really good Commander decks. So if I'm going to be betting, and I'm not a betting man, I would bet that our opponent's going to leave up some mana for Lindra. So that's something we definitely want to keep in mind. But outside of that, we can try to go for Rhonas, Lana War Elves, and then go for God Eternal. But if we don't have any sort of trample, sort of Feast and Famine. Now, we do have Return to Nature. We can go for that with Sword of Feast and Famine. That will be something that we can do, but that's going to put us at 15 total commander damage. Might see the entire crew swing in, and it's going to be just very, very hard for us to beat a untapped Sword of Feast and Famine with all that extra mana. So, but we're going to try. That's what Commander's about. So, I would have to discard a card, and I guess at this point, we have the land drop for next turn. Return to Nature is going to be an answer for Sword of Feast and Famine. And I guess at this point, we'll just get rid of Lana War Elves, because that would be nice to get down, but we can get the land drop down next turn, and then hopefully You know, maybe end up getting Azuri's Predation, or simply just getting down Rhonas to go for those extra Stampede effects. Okay, so Palace Shell's going to enter the battlefield. This is going to get rid of Tireless Tracker. And with that Monarch ability, this is going to give him that really nice card draw. That's another good thing that you can do with this stack. Okay, and they're going to get that card draw. Now, basically, they can swing in for 5 next turn. That's going to put us at 20 total commander damage, and that also allows them to put an extra +1 counter. So even if we want to force them to go for the Glenalinda activation, I just don't think we can stop any of this. So we go Forest for the turn, because that's going to be 8 total mana. We do have the mana for Azuri, but with Glenalinda being open, they're going to be able to stop it, which is going to be a huge bummer. I guess if we want to try to force something, because let's say that we destroy target non-basic, yeah, because even if we go Tectonic Edge, it's still not going to be able to stop it. So let's try to stick a Harmonize. That's going to allow us to draw 3 cards. Maybe they go for the activation off Mana Confluence. I can see them definitely going for that, and maybe we can kind of stick around, and let's go for a Return to Nature on Sword of Feast and Famine. Because if we don't get rid of it, we're just basically dead. Now, we could have gone for the Exile Target card, and that does bring back Glenalinda to the battlefield. But at least we got rid of that, and maybe that kind of buys us an extra turn for next turn. So they're going to counter that spell, and since we have no extra mana, might as well just going to crack a Clue token really quick. Okay, an Oracle. So anything else, we're going to go and pass the turn. So they got 1 card left in their hand. We did deal with Sword of Feast and Famine. But let's say they make the land drop. That's going to be 1 counter, 2, and that'll be 3 counters. It's going to be 6. So that'll be exactly lethal with commander damage if they put 3 counters on Janara. So let's see how they decide to swing in. At this point, they were looking at 5. Yeah, it's going to be 6. Put us down to 4, and that'll be exact. Well, let's see. Oh, excuse me. They've got Elvish Mystic. All right, put an extra counter on there. Yeah, I completely forgot about the Elvish Mystic. So they're going to get it on this one. Good game to our opponent. You know, fortunately, with that mana leak on, not mana leak, but that Nature's Claim on Gauntlet of Power, that was really what set us back. And then once ever they hit that mana leak with the Hornet Queen, that was just, basically that was our undoing right there. But good game to our opponent. You can definitely see where just Jannar just swinging in every single turn, getting that flying and just dumping all of your mana, getting those counters on there. That can be a certainly good way to kind of close the game out. But if you enjoyed the video, like and subscribe. Thanks. Bye. Welcome to God Eternal Rhonas. Hope you're excited to slam down some creatures. And we've got a wonderful opening hand. We've got Corso Crufix, Biogenic Ooze. It's a nice mid-range threat. And of course, God Eternal Rhonas sitting over in the command zone. So I really enjoy this opening hand. Pretty good. Also playing against a Nala Archmage. So that's always a very interesting match to play against. Okay, and sorry about that. I didn't realize my phone was not on silent. So let's go Forest for the ooh, Green Sun Zenith, and we do have Dryad Arbor. Do we want to go for that? Yeah, I kind of like that. So let's Green Sun Zenith. Well, actually, no. We got Arbor Elf. Yeah, we got Corso Crufix. We don't. I may want to see save Green Sun Zenith for Crater Hoof. That might be a good option for us. So let's just go for Arbor Elf, and I'm just simply just going to go and pass the turn over to our opponent. That way, if they do have some sort of spot removal on Arbor Elf, at least they're not going to blast it on the Dryad Arbor. So we're playing God Eternal Rhonas, Death Touch. Whenever God Eternal Rhonas enters the battlefield, double the power of each other creature you control until end of turn. Those creatures gain Vigilance until end of turn, and then. Whenever God Eternal Rhonas dies or is put into exile from the battlefield, you may put it into Summoner's Library 3rd from the top. Let's go Forest, and I think at this point, yeah, I think we just, let's just go Corso Crufix. That way we can start working on getting some more lands on the battlefield. I kind of like that. Let's go Corso Crufix. We already have no more land. Ooh, we got a Forest on top. I like that. Anything else, we're going to go and pass the turn. But yeah, God Eternal Rhonas. It's just a... it's like salt and pepper. He's like the salt to the Crater Hoof, salt and pepper. They just go very well together and makes for some really nice turns. We're playing against a Nala. Whenever another non-token wizard enters the battlefield under your control, if a Nala is in the command zone or on the battlefield, pay 1. If you do create a token that's a copy of that wizard, that token gains haste, then exile at the beginning of the next end step. So let's grab that Forest, and I think we'll just go ahead and play this off the top, gain that extra life. So we're going to yield to that. Ooh, we've got Ripjaw Raptor on top, which is definitely going to be a good option for us. And then we've got 4 total mana, and I think at this point we just want to start working towards Garruk Wildspeaker. That's one of those things that if we can sequence up a Stampede effect, that's going to work out really well. So let's go Garruk Wildspeaker. Let's go for the +1, untap up to 2 target lands, untap Forest and this Forest. And that's going to give us 2 mana. Yeah, let's just still just go and go for that Dryad Arbor line of play that I was talking about. Or actually, if we go for 1, we can just straight up just go for Tree Speaker. I think that'll be a good option. So let's get this popped out. Actually, no, let's grab Dryad Arbor. I kind of like that. It'll be an extra creature. Let's get this popped down just a little bit. That force, I don't know why it keeps popping out. And then let's go and swing in for 2 with Courser of Crewfix, I guess. Yeah, let's go and swing in 2, because you never know. Then that little extra 2 damage might end up making a difference in the end. So I'm going to swing in for 2, knock him down to 28, and then we're going to go and pass the turn over to our opponent. Okay, and our opponent's going to go for Nabin, Dean of Iteration. Sorry about that. I'm recording with, I got a new dog. If you actually don't, if you didn't know, I got a new puppy, and I'm trying to record with the new puppy, and he was getting behind my computer desktop, and typically that's not good for for computers if a dog's back there kind of rooting around. All right, so for this one, if a wizard entering the battlefield causes a trigger to... Oh, man, so we've got like double Panharmonicon style effects from our opponent. The only good thing is that we do have Azuri's Predation, so if they end up getting a ton of wizards on the battlefield, we can at least end up with a lot of beast tokens, which I kind of do like that. So let's draw into that forest, and it's going to be Blighted Woodland on top, so we'll go and grab that too. We're going to gain that life. Let's go and always yield to that. And then Ripjaw Raptor. So we go Blighted Woodland, pay 4 mana. And I think at this point, if we're going for God Eternal Rhonas, I kind of like getting down Biogenic Ooze. So let's go 1, 2, 3, 4. We can untap target forest. That's going to be Biogenic Ooze entering the battlefield. We can untap up to 2 more target lands. That'll still give us 3 mana left over. So we're going to get a 2/2 token with the Ooze. And the good thing about this is it's going to allow us to really kind of start building up that board set we're trying to develop. So let's go for the +1, untap up to 2 target lands. Untap forest. Okay, and that's going to give us exactly 3 mana, but at this point, we're just simply just going to go and pass the turn over to our opponent. Now, with Biogenic Ooze, we're getting to the spot now, and we're going to start making a few more extra land drops. And once we end up going for that, we're going to start really kind of going for that create a 2/2 green Ooze creature token. Because what's going to end up happening is if they don't have any sort of... Oh, never mind. Okay, anything else? We'll go and swing in with Corsair Crewfix and then pass the turn. What I was about to say, if they don't have spot removal, which they showed it off in just perfect timing, if they didn't have that spot removal, they're going to be able to just really start to kind of fill the board up with a lot of oozes and build up a nice board state. But a Braid took care of it, so a Braid is just such a good card to run in Commander. It just gets a lot of stuff done. And hopefully when they start making a few more tokens... or at least getting a few more creatures. Oh, look at that value. Got Panharmonicon, and oh, that is just that is really good. All right, so I end up with about Scry 6. So let's go and let them get this resolved. And so what I think we really need to do is we might end up having to go for Azuri's Predation next turn because we've got the mana. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Actually, and then with Gurk Wildspeaker, we do have the mana for that because we want to get rid of Navin over there. I think that's how you say it, or that's how I pronounce it for the rest of the video. And so we're going to draw into Ripjaw Raptor. Let's go Scavenger Grounds off the top of our library. Ooh, Avengers Zendikar. Oh, yeah. So let's go for Azuri's Predation. Okay, so that's only going to give us 2 tokens, but at this point, if they have any sort of bounce effects with the Omen Speaker, that is just something we don't want to let them have for the rest of the game. And dealing with Dean of Iteration, this is pretty much kind of our only spot removal for the deck. Now, they've got a counter spell, go for the throat. Okay, we can definitely survive that. We've got Avenger of Zendikar on top, and we've got a pretty good little board state to swing into that. So let's go and push in. We're going to have Dryad Arbor swing in and the Ooze token. It's going to knock them down to 3, and then we're going to go and pass the turn. Now, the other good thing that we can do is with God Eternal Rhonas, is what we can end up doing is actually just slam it down next turn, and depending if they get any sort of creatures on the battlefield, then we just really get in for a nice chunk of damage, and especially with us going for the -4, yeah, I think I like going for that. That's going to be really hard for our opponent to stop, so if we end up going Gurk Wildspeaker -4, and then coming in God Eternal Rhonas, that'll be a pretty good option. So let's go Forest, and I do apologize for Sturgill. That is my little puppy over there. He's being a... He's being a little bit of a... I ran out of treats, and I was like, man, you've eaten more than enough treats today. So any certain way we need to sequence this. Yeah, and actually, if we end up going for the Gurk Wildspeaker trigger first, so they're going to get +3/+3 gain trample, because they're already going to have trample, and that's going to allow us to just simply just cast God Eternal Rhonas. Oh, look at that. That is some good value. Have that enter the battlefield, double up our power and toughness. Let's go and swing across. Look at that ooze and those those beast tokens. I love it. I'm going to right click, swing in, attack all. And this is pretty much what you want to be doing with the deck. Now, you did see that we did have Roaring in our hand. You know, at the beginning of your upkeep, you can return a creature to your hand. That's one of the ways that we can kind of keep that God Eternal trigger coming across. You know, being able to cast it each turn. But this is pretty much what you want to do. You know, to get down something like God Eternal Rhonas, get that Stampede effect. You can really get that Stampede effect from any sort of, whether it's Skirk, Wildspeaker, Crater Hoof, anything like that. And simply just doubling up trample damage typically is going to close the game out. Now, this is really strong in 1v1 commander, but in a multiplayer setting, you can see we had a huge chunk of damage on our side of the battlefield. So anyway, good game to our opponent. Playing against Anala is pretty rough sometimes, especially when they got off to the Panharmonicon Naven interaction where it's just double Panharmonicon. That's a lot of value from them. So anyway, good game to our opponent. If you enjoyed the video, like and subscribe. Thanks. Bye.